Can I ask you something?
Sure.
What is it? Well, have you ever, been with Jim?
Well, what kind of a question is that?
Shh, wake up the whole house.
For crying out loud, what do you expect asking me something like that?
You still haven't answered me.
Well, I don't think it's any of your business. But I can tell you the answer is no.
Have you ever been in bed with a guy?
Betty, what is this? Why?
Just because.
Boy, I think you're out of your mind. Go to sleep, for goodness sakes. Or maybe I better call Mama here to take your temperature.
That'll be the day. Then you'll have to tell her why. Maybe she'll start asking questions.
Come on, are you going to sleep all day?
What time is it?
It's a little after 9.
It's Saturday. I don't want to get up yet.
Oh, come on. You said you'd go downtown with me today. I want to get a new skirt.
Stores are open till 6.
Come on. Here, I've got something for you.
What?
You can have it if you answer my question.
What question?
You know.
Oh. You mean last night?
You never did answer me.
Fortunately, I'm still able to toddle out to the kitchen to get my own orange juice.
Here, take this. I was only kidding.
Tastes good. Hey, what's the matter with you?
Betty, what's wrong? No matter what it is, it can't be that bad.
Oh, yes, it can, boy. You just don't know.
What? I'm never going to know unless you tell me. Betty, does what's bothering you have anything to do with what you asked me last night? Have you said anything to Mom? And there's only one thing it can be. Are you pregnant?
You have to promise me you won't say a word to anyone before
Look, if you are pregnant, you won't have to say anything to anybody. They'll all see in a couple months. Now, face it. Is that what's wrong? Do you think you're going to have a baby?
think it, I know it.
How come you're so sure?
Never mind how, I'm just sure, that's all.
Look, if you want me to help, you're going to have to stop talking in circles. Have you been to a doctor?
You don't have to go to a doctor to know you're pregnant. I haven't menstruated for 2 months.
Well, there could be other reasons for that.
Well, maybe there could, but not as far as I'm concerned. I've been sick nearly every morning for weeks.
So why did you wait till now to say something about it? Oh, never mind. There's no point in asking why anything.
Helen, what am I going to do?
But for starters, you didn't get pregnant by yourself. What does Ronnie think about it? Well, it is Ronnie, isn't it?
Yes, but he doesn't know. I haven't said anything to him yet, and I'm not going to.
What kind of a silly idea... Okay, let's start again. I think the first thing you should do is talk to Mom.
You girls ever going to be ready for bed? Betty, what's the matter?
Oh, Mom.
Tell me, what is it?
Then how long have you known about this?
Betty just told me this morning. I don't suppose she would have said anything even then if I hadn't walked into the girls' room when I did.
So Helen knows about it as well, does she?
Helen knew before I did. I suppose it was easier for Betty to tell Helen. I don't know. I've just been walking around here from one room to another. Don't even seem to be able to think.
I know exactly what you mean. I can't believe we're sitting here talking about Betty having a... You see, I can't even say it.
What are we going to do?
Do? What do you do when you find out your 16-year-old daughter's going to have a baby? 16 years old, for God's sake. What does she know about having a baby?
Nothing. How could she know anything? That's why we have to figure out what to do and help her.
Oh, that's going to make things pretty easy for Betty, isn't it? Listen, this is not like something like a stupid broken window or maybe a failing in a lousy history test. She can't fix this up by taking 10 cents a week off her allowance.
I know she can't.
I just can't believe it. In fact, I can't feel a thing. It's just like I'm sitting here watching all this happening to somebody else.
But it's not somebody else. It's our daughter. And right now she's just plain scared. That's why we have to help her.
Well, nobody's saying anything about not helping her. You know that. But there has to be a way of doing it that she'll understand our point of view. Otherwise, we'll be just taking it over, and how is that going to help her?
She's the one that's going to be having the baby. We can't do that for her, even if we wanted to.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Your mother has told me all about Betty, Helen. So why doesn't everybody stop pretending that this is just another Saturday afternoon around here?
Maybe it would have been better if you just stayed home instead of going downtown.
What happened?
Nothing, really. That's the trouble. I tried to talk to Betty about it, but every time I brought it up, she changed the subject. I don't know how she does it. If it was me, I'd think I'd be talking about it all the time now it's out in the open. I'm going to get out of these clothes.
Will you ask Betty to come down?
Sure. You want me to start supper, Mom?
Good heavens, look at the time. I'll get things started. You can take over when you've changed.
No. Stay where you are and we'll both talk to Betty together. We're not in that much of a rush for supper anyway.
Probably shouldn't even be thinking this. But I somehow wish it was Helen instead of Betty.
Oh, why?
Because she's older, I guess. And Helen's always been, steadier somehow. Even when she was Betty's age.
Yeah, I know. Betty is the impulsive one. But she's a good kid. Good-hearted. For as long as I can remember, she's just always been giving her stuff away. Remember that one Christmas we got her that kitten and she went right across the street to the kid because of the fact that he had a little broken arm or something. I don't know what it was now. How old was she then? 6, 7?
The kitten came right back. I can hear Helen now explaining to Betty how the kitten had lived here for 2 months, and this was his home. He knew this was his family.
We're talking about a kitten. And we both know that we're thinking about a baby, aren't we?
I'm afraid, Bill. There's no other word for it. I'm afraid for Betty.
Right now, she probably figures we don't want to have any part of her. I don't want her to feel that way. But I don't want her to think that she could just dump this whole problem in our laps.
In the meantime, it's already in our laps. And she's still our Betty, even knowing what we know now about her. We still go right on loving her.
Yeah. But how do you get across that you don't stop loving her because we hate something that she's done?
Hi.
Buy a skirt?
Yeah, I got one, but I'm not going to keep it. I only brought it home to shut Helen up. Boy, that's the last time I go with her to buy clothes. We had to go to the maternity department and buy a skirt. Until today, Helen's been more fun to go buying clothes with than anyone. But not anymore. Boy, now the whole scene's changed.
Well, it has, hasn't it?
What?
Changed. The whole scene, as you so aptly put it, has changed. Well, don't you want to talk about it?
I suppose.
You suppose.
Well, what am I supposed to say?
Supposed to say.
You want me to say I'm sorry? Okay, I'm sorry. You don't think I want to have the baby, do you?
What about the baby, Betty?
What about it?
Betty, you're not taking this thing very seriously, are you? Do you realize the position that you're in? The position that you're putting us all in?
Do you think I like it any better than you do? How would you like to be me? You've only known about it for 1 day. But I've been going crazy for 2 months. What's the use in talking about it? It's done. I'd do anything to change it, but I can't, and neither can you or Mum or anybody else. So why can't we just stop talking about it?
All right. We'll stop talking about it. That's the way you want it. We'll stop talking. I'll stop worrying about it, too, okay? It's your problem. You worry about it. Oh, you don't have to start right now. Oh, no. You got the days, the weeks, the months ahead between now and the time when the baby's born. And then there's going to be afterwards. Oh, yeah. The years and years and years afterwards.
Wish I hadn't opened my mouth in the first place. I knew you'd never understand. Do you think I'm the first girl that's ever had an illegitimate baby? It happens every day.
Not in my house, it doesn't!
Well, then I'll get out of your house.
Bill! Betty didn't mean it. She's just upset.
Oh, is she now? Well, what am I? Are you? What are we supposed to do? Just pat her on the head and say, poor Betty?
Bill, will you please listen a minute? I think we'd all feel much better if we only knew more about what we're supposed to do. And it seems to me the best way to find out is to phone Dr. Mackenzie.
Jack Mackenzie? Why bring him into this?
Because he's the only one I can think of who'll be able to tell us what to do.
Sorry to keep you waiting so long, Dorothy. I've thoroughly examined Betty, and she's in excellent physical condition.
Except that she's pregnant.
Yes, about 3 months. I'm sorry, Dorothy. I really wish I could tell you otherwise.
What's the next step?
There are several alternatives, but regardless of which one is chosen, you and Bill are involved. Betty's only 16, and that makes her your responsibility under law.
What if I don't want to be?
Betty, what you want or don't want isn't really important in the eyes of the law.
But I'm the one who's pregnant. I'm the one who's going to have the baby.
That's right. The law is there to protect you and your baby. Sit down, Betty. Now listen carefully. I'm going to try to explain some of the alternatives that are available to you. You'll want to hear this too, Dorothy. And later you and Bill can discuss these things with Betty, and all three of you decide what's best for everybody. You're healthy, fortunately, and should have an uncomplicated pregnancy. The baby should be born in about 6 months. The question is, where? At home, with your parents and Helen? In a home for unwed mothers? Away from here in another city with friends or relatives who are willing to help?
Wouldn't it be best if Betty stayed at home with us?
I can't answer that, Dorothy. Betty, you have to grow up in an awful hurry, starting right now. You can see that your family has to be considered in any decisions that are made, and you have to do everything you can to make things easier for everybody. When it's time for the baby to be born, you'll probably go to hospital. This will mean more arrangements and depend on where you are and who your doctor is. But I think you'll see that your family is very much involved. Now we come to the big question. What happens to the baby? Do you keep the baby? Or do you make arrangements for adoption? Betty, this is a terrible decision to have to make. Right now, there is no baby. It's just something we're discussing. And 6 months seems like a long time, but 6 months goes by very quickly. I'm going to make arrangements for you to see a social worker from one of the agencies which deals with adoptions. You can talk it over with her and discuss the whole thing with your family and then make your decision.
Will I have to see the baby after it's born?
I can't answer that either, Betty. That'll depend on where you are, who your doctor is, and of course on whether you want to see the baby or not at the time.
Well, will I know who adopted it?
It'll depend on the kind of arrangements that are made. If your baby's adopted through the social agency, it isn't likely you'll ever know who the adopted parents are.
That's the best way, isn't it?
Sometimes it is, Betty, and it might turn out to be the best for you.
Well, if I don't ever see the baby and I never know who adopted it, well, then I won't get all hung up on it, will I?
Sounds all very logical, doesn't it? I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're discussing a baby that's a long way from being born. Only a woman who's been through the 9 months of carrying her unborn baby knows how it feels and what she thinks about during that time. During the next 6 months, you'll be experiencing thoughts and feelings you've never known before, and perhaps will never know again. Even with all of us doing everything we can to help you, there'll be some lonely and desperate moments. Betty, inside your body, a baby is growing. And yours is the body that will be physically changing in the months ahead. You don't want this baby. And you'll find yourself resenting the way the body is changing. You may never see the baby, ever. But that won't wipe out the experience of the next few months. So it's foolish to think when it's all over you'll be just the same as you are now, just as though nothing had happened. Start right now to face up to it, Betty. A new life is growing inside your body. And in just about 6 months, you'll be bringing a new human being into this world.
Dr. Mackenzie, will you do me a favor? Will you please talk to my dad?